Welcome to Triple Threat, the podcast with Jermel President, where it's good news and good vibes all the time, baby.
When we left Portugal to come play with you in your system, Jermel, it was the best thing for Shane because you pushed him to do other things outside his box.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month. Hey, what's up, guys? Coming up next, we got a good friend of mine, Bernard Jackson, to talk about his trials and tribulations as a student athlete from Florida to the College of Charleston. Things that, happened in the city of Charleston that made him a better man today. We talked about that those audiences that need to hear his story and not only prevent things, but how to treat it, how to make things a lot better. We all have, trip ups and step ups all through life, but it's all about how you handle them and how you come out at the end. So big ups to Bernard King Jackson for doing what he do. Much love. Let's get into the interview. So, all right. So we go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get started, big guy. I appreciate you being on today. We cover a lot of podcasts. It's simply basically interviewing former student athletes, coaches, parents, and bringing that wealth of knowledge to the community. So, being a former student athlete, I'd love to talk to you about, your career, how I got started, and, your whole decision was and recruiting and whatnot.
All right.
So, like anything else, once you give the audience a little feedback on where you're from, your city, and take us back to that, frame that for us.
From a small town in South Florida, it's called Pahokee, and it's on the southern tip of Lake Okeechobee, which is the largest freshwater body of water outside of the Great Lakes in the whole United States. So it's right down there in Western Palm Beach County. You got a lot of football going on down there. Ladies Central, Pahokee High School, a lot of NFL players coming out of there in the past couple decades. So that's where I'm from. We're not really known for to be a basketball town, but that's where I grew up and fell in love with playing basketball as a child.
So what are some of the programs like in the intermediate, because everybody grew up on the park playing and, had that support from either the community, the parents, the uncle somewhere, what were some of the programs that, that you were in and were they effective, into your development?
Some of the, it started out, I really didn't, I don't know, I kind of just fell into basketball. We didn't have a real big system down there because, like I said, most, it was mainly football players. But I started out, I think, around fifth grade playing for the city league. The city sponsored the league. Just dudes from the city, just coaching the team. There, a lot of these guys really didn't know anything much, about basketball strategy and different things like that. They were just being role models and just people that was lending a hand and helping to teach the young guys, give them something to do. So that's like elementary school. After that, my high school actually was seventh grade all the way up to 12th grade. And so you had a freshman team, junior varsity team, and varsity team. So in seventh grade, I actually played on the freshman team for my high school. Right. I mean, I was on the team, didn't really play, but I was in love at that point in time, so I put in that work from then on. But so after that, I did play like AAU, but it was our AAU team pretty much consisted of the best guys from our city league team, and they put us in AAU tournaments, and some of the same coaches from the city league were the guys that chaperoned us pretty much. It wasn't really structured, but we got a chance to compete with a lot of other talent. We played a lot of good AAU talent in South Florida, and it really made me know that I could compete, even though like our strategy, we were just out there running and gunning pretty much. If we outran you, then we would beat you. But if you had a coach that really knew how to coach and do strategy, I mean, you can beat a lot of our teams. But we just really got exposed to the competition, growing up.
Right. And so what, you said you played in 7th grade. So when did it start, to hit home? Did you have any rivalries, any people that you looked up to in the city that, that just was, a little bit older, that just always, give you ran for your money and kind of like push you during those times? Were there anybody?
Well, I mean, it wasn't necessarily any rivalries or anything like that. There were some older guys that I kind of looked up to. This guy, that played football and basketball. He was probably like 3 or 4 years older than me. God bless his dad. He getting killed, before he even left high school. But this guy named Morrell. Morrell played football and basketball, man. And on the basketball court, it's like he was kind of like one of the guys that I looked up to. And I don't know. I gravitated towards it, and when I saw that I wasn't so skilled, I'm one of the persons like when I'm not so good at a thing, I would study it and learn it, And so I got videos of Pistol Pete, and one of my coaches, Pete Karras, Coach Floyd Henry, like one of my coaches, they gave me, things to do, and I would do it exactly how they say. And so from the 7th grade, after the 7th grade was over, and then that summer I was on the court every day, all day. And so in 8th grade, I came back. My coach was like, on the freshman team, he was like, Bernard, what did you do? Did you like go to camps? Oh, just worked out on the court. So I got co-MVP.
Right.
From 7th grade, getting very few minutes to 8th grade. Me just getting in there and clicking, and then seeing my skills develop, and then being able to put it on the court. Like 8th grade, I'm still playing 9th grade. Freshman basketball, getting the co-MVP. I just knew that I wanted to play basketball, and from there on, I just kept always working.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. When it was that time when the spark, when it hit, when it kind of triggered. So you said it's around your 7th or 8th grade year when you really, started to lock in and put in work. Take us to the point where the high school years. Then, like, what were some of the turnaround times where you started to develop, come into your own? The averages starting, and then you started getting letters and looks. Take us back to how those, how that started to happen.
All right, so we, I played the city league ball. You always continue to play the city league ball until we started playing the AAU league ball, and that's around like 8th, 9th grade. After the season's over, we still playing the city league ball during the summer, and I think maybe around 8th or 9th grade, maybe the summer of the 8th grade, I'm on the court again. Like when I had a pretty good freshman season, and then so now I'm trying to dunk. And I can't dunk the ball. I can't get to dunk the ball. I'm going into like the 9th grade, maybe 10th grade. I can't remember. So, but I finally do dunk during that summer, and then that following summer or so, I go to this camp. And the camp, it really exposed me to some more talent. My mother paid for me to go to the camp. I started getting some letters like Boston University, Rider University, Quinnipiac, schools in the Northeast up there. Like the camp was, it was the Big East Invitational or something like that. But it was up there in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Up in New Jersey, I went there and started getting letters, and that. You start getting letters. Now you feel like, oh,
right.
We're taking notice. And so I just, went all in. I ended up making the varsity team, starting as a 10th grader, and just from there, man, like my game just started to come in. I started growing into my body, lifting weights, and different things like that. I mean, I was still pretty skinny, but you know what I'm saying?
Sure,
Like,
for sure.
I just started feeling more confidence, more swagger on the court. You know, at that age.
And what type of support, that did you have? Because, talking to different, guests, there's always that lack of support, whether it's, community, parents, peers, because we all need support. Either we got, that's why a lot of guests I know, best friends and probably teammates, because they go to work out together, they go do a lot of things together, and they help, motivate each other. What was some of your support? What motivates you to work every day? Because you can't just get up every day and just go work. That it's not humane. It's got to be something that's triggering to make that happen.
I'm actually glad that you asked that question because I think shout out to a lot of the guys that grow up in environments to where it's not very like community, like in bigger cities and stuff. You got guys that kind of spread out and maybe they're not. They go to school in a community that's not their own and different things like that. I was fortunate to grow up in a small town where it's like the town pretty much supported us in everything we do, from little league baseball to football, league football, basketball, like because it's almost like an entertainment for the town. It's something for them to come to do, come to watch, and everybody knows it, everybody. So when you have a team filled up with those players from that small community, they would travel with us because it's something for them to do. They would travel, everybody would get the hotels. So we had a lot of support, and not only that, my mother. I mean, like it's rare that I can remember games that she missed, even though she worked a lot. Sometimes having 2 jobs, 3 jobs, sometimes literally. She made a lot of the games, man. And I will always hear her in the crowd cheering me on. So that's definitely a big thing, the support that the children have. Whether it's from the community or directly from their parents or
All right, for sure. And let's say your senior year, you started putting numbers, like you say, you start getting letters early. Now it's time to make a decision on what college you go to. And again, talking to most guests, everybody make decisions based on comfortability. You know what I mean? Why I knew this coach that was there, or I didn't want to leave home. It's very rare to get a decision based on making sure this is the right offense for me, making sure the position I'm in, the school I'm going to that play as a senior, the weather in that area, what I'm studying, like all those things got to be in consideration. What were your recruiting wars, and how'd you end up to the College of Charleston, and why?
I mean, I kind of had a roundabout kind of route to end up at the College of Charleston. I didn't have the traditional route because at the end of my sophomore year, I had a really good year, and I went to those camps during the summer after my sophomore year. Started receiving now. I started receiving University of South Carolina, like SEC schools, ACC schools, not the Dukes or anything like that, but just some of the schools that are in the bigger brackets of competition.
And this time our message, we got Jim Yarborough.
Coach Kress came from, it was kind of a tough-minded school. And I think the thing that defined Charleston at that time, and you were very much a part of it, and that identity, and the thing he loved about you for sure was your toughness and your resiliency. Nothing bothered you, and you would come right back. And I think we had a number of guys who could handle that. And we had tough practices, and we pushed hard. But I think at least collectively, our staff and coach, I think everybody knew we cared, but that relationship with players, so that they can be pushed to the brink, or they do understand what we're doing and why. It's everything. It's not the X's and O's are important. Organizations,
sure.
You hear me talk, but I'm glad you brought it up. I've kind of always delved into, I'll be so good in X's and O's, my players will know I know what I'm doing and they'll care. And and I thought I would help, that would make them confident. And it did to a little bit, but you better make sure you have that personal connection to close it out, or there'll be a little gap, and it doesn't take much to fill that gap with negativity, and then you're in a bad place.
Now let's get back to the interview.
And so, had a really good junior year, but I injured my ACL during the summer after my junior year playing on outdoor courts.
Wow. Wow.
And so, about 5 months, went hard after the surgery, got the surgery, and right after the school year, after the season ended. I got surgery immediately because that happened during the summer. So it was like a 5 month span between the surgery and the beginning of the senior season, and the doctors cleared me to play. And I was playing, back dunking. My leg was bigger than it was even before I got hurt. Confident in it. I would always test it, and stop hard to see if I would feel it and do different things like that. And I was okay. Couple weeks, we had a couple weeks of preseason practice. The first week, I did okay, and then a few days or so into it, I tweaked the knee. Went back to the physical therapist, and the doctor thought I was still good. They checked the knee, it was fine. We played our first tournament, starting my senior season, and I had a great game. The first game, second game, moved me out. So senior season was over. So for me, it's still not over. I had great grades. I was still getting offers for Division II schools. But I mean, I feel like I was a Division I, high level Division I player, even though I'm from a small town, not really, every time I compete with somebody, I feel like I was one of the best. So I wanted to compete at a higher level, at least Division I. So my plan was to go to Florida State, University of Florida, or Miami. Miami was my first choice. Just being a Florida boy, and being a fan, that's where I wanted to go. And obviously they were the Big East team, and in the high league. So I ended up Florida State accepted me first. Florida and Miami was taking forever. It was getting too late, for choosing housing and all that stuff. And so I decided I was going to go to Florida State. Most of my friends were there anyway, either family or Florida State. So that's how I chose Florida State. My plan was that I was going to walk on and make the team that way.
Right.
It didn't work out that way though. So what happened was, which I know you had a question to say, but
no, listen.
So what happened was, so I was in the gym working. So the doctors decided they were going to make me wait a full 7 months this time and not let me come back any time before that. So the tryouts for Florida State took place a couple weeks prior to them clearing me to play. I went and talked to the coach, which was it was when I came to College of Charleston. The coach at Charleston Southern was one of the assistants at Florida State, and he's the guy that I spoke with, and he was like, he blew me off basically. Blew me off, told me to come back next year. And I was like, no, I'll be good. It's just 2 weeks later, I'll just come back next year. Didn't know anything about me. I didn't have seen the season. I was really, so I go play pickup ball down the street at Tallahassee Community College, just to change the scenery, because I had been crushing the dudes in Florida State, rec, center and everything. So I go just to try to, play somewhere different. One of my friends, who was going to TCC, asked me to come down there. So I do. So on the student side, the guys were like, man, why don't you go over there and play with the real players? So I'm crushing them over there. So I was like, I didn't know I could do that, because they had like a double gym, like students on one side, the other side is, for the student athletes, So I go over there, and the coach is sitting back, and these guys are running games. And so I'm standing around for a while, and finally someone was like, yeah, just ask him, he'll put you in. I go up to the coach. And so after waiting around for a while, he puts me in a game. I play one game. He says, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Asked me all my credentials or whatever, and offered me a scholarship.
Wow.
Like after a pickup game. So
Wow.
ended up at Tallahassee Community College. And yeah, after that I played a season. And my high school coach called the staff at the College of Charleston because he was aware of them. I wasn't aware of the College of Charleston.
Gotcha.
My high school coach called them, and he thought that I would be a good fit. You know, the size of the school, you know, with my skill set and, you know, my size, not being like a 6'7" or 6'9", or, you know, that sort of thing, playing primarily post position. He thought I would be a good fit. And so he called them. They said they were going to be at the state tournament, and they came to the, you know, tournament. They saw me. We got knocked out the first round. They came to the College of Charleston. Came to the TCC, and they basically offered me a scholarship.
Wow.
But I wanted to do the whole college tour and see what my options were. They didn't have any really big options.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know it, but they were in the, you know, in the heading to be my choice. You know, anyway, but I wanted to go. I said, man, I'm going to take, this is all the guys on our team. We were like, we're going to take all our 5 visits. We're going to eat all the food. We're going to do all this.
Hey.
Bro, after those first 3 visits, bro, I ain't want no more.
Right.
I did College of Charleston first. So after that, I did Louisiana. No, I did Eastern Kentucky. And I did Louisiana Lafayette. But bro, man, after all the crawfish and all these good, you know, country meals they stuffing you with when you go. I mean, even here at the College of Charleston, man, it's like no more food. And so
Right.
after the 3rd visit,
He's ready to make a
I
decision.
went ahead and just let the College of Charleston know that's where I want to go, and let everybody else know I'm done with the visits, man. Everybody out.
And I think it was a great decision you made.
Yeah, man.
The one question I want to ask you is that in your experience being a student athlete, you know, and, you know, we all desire having a dream coming up, you know, was it everything that, you know, that you thought it would be? And I asked that because, not because of playing time, but, you know, include the experience in your response. Do you think you as a student athlete got everything you wanted to get out of that situation?
I'm pretty sure that I got 100%, you know, everything that I wanted out of the situation. I'm a strong believer in, you know, using your mental to project what it is that you want out of life. And I even, you know, as a 7th grader in a technology camp, you know, I'm speaking about the knee injuries. I actually, you know, my whole thing was with my family was that, like, I was, I think, one of the first, you know, in my family to graduate college on, you know, on my mother's side. And so my whole thing was, for me, it was important that, I mean, I felt like I was really good, and I thought I was, you know, could go to the NBA and the whole deal, or wanted to go to the NBA. But my whole thing was, you know, you saw a lot of those guys leave high school or leave college early. My whole thing was like, I was going to make sure I got my education so that if I, you know, didn't make it or something happened, I would fall back on it. So like in the 7th grade, this was my mentality.
Nice.
So at this technology camp, we had to do an educational, you know, video. And in the video, I portrayed a student athlete that injured his knee, you know, but the whole point was that he had good grades and he could fall back on his, you know, so that was the whole message in that thing. So fast forward, that happens to me, and falling back on my grades, I still was able to go to school, you know, because of my academics, and I still was able to play basketball because I gave myself a shot. Because if I injured my knee and my grades were screwed up, I had screwed around, I injured my knee close to my senior year. And I didn't get a chance to have my senior year. So what if my grades were messed up or whatever, and I had to deal with that as an obstacle too? I didn't have to deal with that. I went to school and I just worked out while everybody, you know what I'm saying? I just worked out and worked on my game. And then next year I made a team. And then next year after that, I made the College of Charleston. So my goal was to play Division I, basketball. It was to get a college degree. I got 2 college degrees. I played for I played for 2 college basketball teams. And so, yeah, man, I got everything I expected out of it. I just wish I would have actually had a little bit more of a focus and aim, and instead of just saying that, hoping I go to the NBA and putting that whole fall back on the knee injury thing. Maybe I shouldn't have had any of those thoughts in my head, man.
For sure. And we, we live and we learn. But, talk about, you coming from Florida and coming to Charleston. And, a lot of athletes don't understand, student athletes don't understand, they want to play at the next level, play at these colleges, but it's just as hard work being a student away from home, being responsible, the schedule you got to do with your team schedule and your school schedule. Talk about the transition in that and how it was how it affected, your life per se, because, I think being a student athlete and going through the regimen, being on time and having to develop relationships, it also, kind of morphs you into the afterlife and how to, have relationships and how to do, be effective in your careers. What was that transition from Florida to Charleston and how it was effective for you?
I think it's for me, it helped me to be more organized with my time, because I being the older brother, the oldest of all my siblings, I always had to be responsible and do things and make sure I took care of things that needed to be taken care of. But coming to the College of Charleston, and also before the College of Charleston at Tallahassee Community College, when you're a student athlete, one thing you're gonna get structure. You're an asset to the school. You reflect the school, so that they're gonna make sure you're structured. They're gonna make sure you're taking care of certain things you're gonna have to do that are like precautionary or like in your best interest. Like for me, I kind of had to adjust to them like wanting to make sure the classes that I were in were, it's like, I got this. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, is that sort of thing, But I realized that, for the most part, it was a good thing that I had that structure and, getting up early in the morning, those sort of things, you had to do it like, all the time. So yeah, it definitely does prepare you for, when you're trying to go into, a career where, where you're required to do that and that sort of thing. Because, most of my children right now, like, if they had the option to sleep in or to get up early, they all gonna sleep. So it's like, being a student athlete really is a benefit to a young person in developing you, and it definitely helped me to actually just be 45 now. Even now, I still get up, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
For sure. Hey, what's up, guys? Check this out. If you're coming into the Charleston area, or maybe leaving out the Charleston area, and you want to avoid long lines and be greeted by friendly, sweet people, go check out Mark over at Avis and Budget Car Rental at 7685 Northwoods Boulevard. When you go see Mark and you mention Triple Threat Podcast, you receive 30% discount on your rental. They also offer compact to large SUVs and vans to rent with quick, easy transaction. And check this out, and limited mileage on most rentals. So give Mark a call at 843-572-3190. Don't forget to mention Triple Threat Podcast. And then, after the college, and you graduated, I knew you were, also working over at the car dealership. What were, we talk about those transferable skills, and you were effective in doing what you do over there. Did you see yourself using some of those skill sets you learned from being a student athlete and applying them to, when you were doing over at the dealership? because you got to think. You know, when you see that player, you know, you analyzing that player. Is he left hand? Is he right hand? You know, is he a shooter? Is he a driver? You know, is he weak? Is he strong? When that person is walking up to buy that car, you gotta be looking. Is this person got money? Is he coming here to play around? Like, you got to be able to read, and you know what I'm saying. So, what were some of the things you learned from being a student athlete in order to be effective in that type of career?
I guess I mean, because car sales is a pressure sport. You know, like it's time involved. I mean, you can really, use basketball. I use basketball in my life as an analogy a whole lot. You know, in cooking, because I like to cook. You know, I got the Power 7 recipe, and method for everybody. But as far as, talking about car sales, it's like you have to let the game come to you sometimes. And if you rush it, sometimes you can blow the sale. Meaning, if you try to push a customer or just don't allow them time to make, the time, or just to think on the decision, you've already helped them decide what's the most important for them, and showing them that, the product that they're looking at is right for them, but they might not be ready to pull the trigger. So sometimes you got to just let the game. You know how, like, when you got to stall offense, and you sitting back in the zone waiting, and they just standing out there running the clock down.
For sure.
And you down.
For sure.
You down, so the clock's ticking, but sometimes you still just gotta be patient. Just let them, because if you run out there and try to steal the ball or do something, now you got to foul, you stop the clock, but now you got to foul. They got 2 shots, or you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
for sure.
They taught me the patience, and just really, it also brought the aspect of relationships. Being able to deal with and relate to a whole lot of diverse people. Coming to college Charleston was one of the things that really gave me that. Coming from a small southern town, was less than 5,000 people, majority, Black people, and so I mean, there were, other, Hispanics and white people in my town as well. And I was friends with all of them, pretty much. Everybody knows everybody. Very, very cool, just serene, just a paradise type of a town, even though we had our issues. But anyway, coming to college of Charleston, now I'm mixing with and meeting with all type of people, even my professors, and that sort of thing. And it was just, it helped translate over into the business world in regard to selling cars.
For sure. So, sunshine is beautiful, right? But if you have sunshine every day, all day, rest of your life, like, you get tired of that. You gotta appreciate the sunshine from the turbulence in life, and before we get into the sunshine, before we get into the Bernard right now, let's touch base on some of the turbulence in life, you know what I mean, that you've encountered. And I'll let you open up and talk about them, but you had a situation where, like you said, they're in the zone, the time is clicking, and you had to sit for a while and watch time click. Talk about that incident, how it changed you, and we'll get into the sunshine of the turbulence.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you speaking about my recent
run-ins per se.
Run-ins, or let's call it what it is. I'm definitely not trying to downplay any bit of it, because I mean, like, what I got out of that is that the sunshine and the rain is necessary. And so for the audience, anyone listening, I recently spent like 14 months in prison for disagreeing with the law. It was a speeding ticket that should have ended in just me paying the ticket, but I took it all the way there. I took it, to the max in regard to my belief that I had a right to do, what I was being charged with. And so anyway, I went to court. I lost in court. It was a very, dramatic, back and forth thing. It took over 4 years for it to, finally make it to trial, and I lose the trial. But in the middle of that, it was just some other stuff. I ended up losing my house. But it's like, in plane rides, you might have turbulence, and a lot of people might be traumatized, if they ever take a plane ride their first time, and they have one turbulence, they never ride a plane again. But it's like such a small part, of the experience, of the entire flight, so you can remember all the nice things you were able to see. It's beautiful looking at water from the window of the plane, It's all blue and the different colors. That you can see a fish, big shark or something, down there. So to me, especially like another thing, which we haven't gotten into, the Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin and that sort of thing. It's like,
I wanted to just touch base, you know what I mean? Because I think, people that know you and hear the story, I think explaining that and being transparent about that, it brings closure, right? And also, it also teaches people, like you said, the necessary turbulence that needed in life.
yeah,
Those things happen, and it's all about how you react to them and how you turn out. Some people get turbulence, your situation in life, like you said, and never go on the airplane again. Well, I think that's a scary way and a coward way to approach life. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You have to be able to, accept whatever comes, be able to deal with it, wipe yourself off, and keep going. And yes, you did mention, your new, not new, but it's new to everybody else. You've been doing it for a couple of years now, but I want you to tell the audience, about your interest in Bitcoin, what you've been doing it, how you've been doing it for the last, not how you've been doing, but what you've been doing with it for the last couple of years, and how that's, kind of changed and morphed into your new focus right now.
Well, I mean, first, what I want to mention is, like, I became like, I really didn't answer that last situation. I'm gonna go ahead and I became more accountable to myself, in my actions, and anything that happens to me, from being able to sit back after all that happens or whatever, there's nobody to blame, not the judge, not any of the officers, like everybody that were in place, everybody that did, what they were supposed to do, they did exactly that, what they were supposed to do. I was the one who wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, which was, accepting things for what they are and making, the best decisions that didn't harm me, myself, my family, or anybody else in the situation. And so that was a tumultuous time, 2015, different things like that. That frightened a whole lot of people. And I realized after the fact that that's really what it was. My friends and my family, they were just afraid, they weren't used to this type of behavior from me. So
and let's get into that right quick, since you brought that up, because I'm pretty sure your family, friends, they're going to hear this, right? And what do you have to say? Because I know, like anything else, it's human. I had a couple of runs, not a couple of runs, but I had a running situation, as well. And your family tend to shy away in times because they don't really know, what's going on, or, they don't really understand. But that's not the time to be second guessing the situation, or your kid, your uncle, your brother. That's the time to really bring that support. So what do you want to say to your family or friends that kind of didn't really understand you, start looking at you sideways, but just to really understand the situation, and at that time you probably didn't have a platform or a way to express and explain yourself. You know what I mean? In hindsight, looking at it now, what do you want to kind of clear up, or kind of really say from the heart?
Well, I mean, there are some people that distance themselves and that sort of thing, and I just want to say to everybody that whatever your reaction was, I appreciate it, and if you distance yourself, I understand that, because people like to be comfortable. They like things that they're comfortable with. At the end of the day, you have to make sure you protect yourself, and I don't blame anybody for making sure they remain safe. Even family members, like really close family members, like when you're not used to a certain behavior, that sort of thing. So there's nobody to blame, man. And like everybody, I just want to say I'm here. I love everybody. My arms are open to everybody. I'm not answering anybody's phone calls. My number is still the same. Everything. So, and I've even been reaching out to people, and we're back to normal. I mean, man, you and I go back how long, and it's like we never missed a beat. So it's for those people who just haven't heard from me since then, I think all they need to do is hear my voice, and they'll know that, oh man, he's back. Which,
Sure.
I mean, I never went anywhere. I just don't know.
And the thing where you said, about, never missing a beat, like I said, it's a very few people I call my friend, you know what I mean? And I don't, use that term, loosely, but what I recognize and what I respect and I understand is very, very intelligent people. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
that get it, people that understand it, that you don't have to, like, I mean, just go around the circle to get them to get understanding. Like you and I talk, we talk about something, it's instantly we get at each other. It's like, but, and that's what I respect. That's what I surround myself around with like-minded people. So any situation that happened outside of that, I never be the one to judge, never will judge, because I understand, the core, you know what I'm saying? I understand the core of people. And then when you call people your friend, no matter how and what happened, you still got to be there to support in every which way you can. You know what I mean? So that's my stance with you, my friends, and anything else. But like I wanted to give you the opportunity just to, to talk to those folks and make them understand. Like you said, it ain't a you back situation because you never went anywhere. You know what I'm saying? The media, the newspaper, people can say all kind of things because that's the power of the pen. They control perception of everything, right? And if we as human can be guilty of not, when we hear something or read something, not reaching out and getting that full understanding and trusting what that person say, that's what you call, a friend and understanding. So no, I just want to give you that airway to kind of, express yourself on that. In this time out message, we got Rashard Alston.
Man, this must be a party school for real, and these guys don't know how to turn it on and off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These guys don't know how to do. So I decided not to go there. I had a scholarship offer to go to that school. You know what I'm saying? And that school, was a bigger school than Newberry. You know what I mean? And I decided not to go there for that reason. And it's things like that you got to take into account. It's like, because you're gonna be around those dudes all the time. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta realize what kind of dudes you gonna be around. Who your peers? You know what I'm saying? And make those decisions based on, okay, who's gonna be in front of me? You know what I'm saying? How long is he gonna be in front of me? Right. You know what I'm saying? Or do I think I'm good enough to go take that guy's spot?
Now let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, it just at the end of the day, I can only say it made me stronger. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand, and it's not for everybody to understand. Sure. But anybody can have a conversation with me about what happened with me or whatever, and they'll be amazed at the things that I say.
And not only that, it'd be amazed at that how well versed you are in the law. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that people don't understand. Like you're well versed in the law, and that's come from the experience. But I don't want to touch too much on that. Let's talk about the sunshine now. Let's talk about things that the Bernard that's moving forward. And one thing that people don't understand, everybody's getting into, is the cryptocurrency. Bro, can you just explain? Because I think people don't understand what's the purpose of cryptocurrency, the use of it, and how do you obtain it? Can you give people just a little bit education on that? Because one, I'll spot you, is that what I heard, cryptocurrency was made to be the mediator between the inflation and how the dollar dropping. Just go into that a little bit and give us a wealth of knowledge on your views on that.
I think what you just said, like it is true, as far as a mediator between the inflation and dollar dropping. But like, what does that mean to most people? Right. Most, even me, like, a year ago, it's like you talking to me about inflation and how it works and how it affects. I didn't know anything about that. even though I've been familiar with Bitcoin since maybe 2011, early 2012, and then, I got into trying to do business with Bitcoin. I started a company in 2017, and at the height of what was called the bull run. So to answer your question, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is the number one of the first cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is just a dollar in digital forms. It's like the Matrix dollar.
Right.
Like if you've seen the movie The Matrix and they got the zeros and ones on the screen, it's like that's your money inside the computer. It looks like zeros and ones. It's just a digitized form of money.
Gotcha.
And so the reason why it's important is because there are a lot of things you have to do with, actual physical dollars in regard to making sure it's safe. People want to steal it. It could burn up. You have, protect it. You have to carry it in these large armored trucks or whatever. You spend a lot of fuel carrying it with those trucks. You spend a lot of time, even with credit card companies that are doing business that are based in these cryptocurrencies. I mean, in these in dollars. Let's just say fiat currency or paper money. All right. Cryptocurrency, you don't have to transport it in trucks. You don't have to have bank tellers or people like that in the bank so people deposit and different things like that. It's all digitized or whatever. There's a lot of benefits to it as far as you can make transactions quicker. The transaction can clear quicker. Like when you used to make a purchase and it'll be pending for 3, 4, 5 days or something like that. Whereas now, some of the cryptocurrencies are under a minute's time. I don't know how fast they're getting now, but Bitcoin is like 10 minutes for transaction to be cleared, and so it's like it's quicker, it's efficient in a lot more ways, and so it's right now is a time for people to get in if they want to actually like the gold rush. You remember when I don't know if you ever heard of mining cryptocurrency.
Yep.
It's like the same thing. Gold became used as money. Gold was used as money. You had to mine it, and then you had to dig, in the ground and get it. And then when you got it, now you can put it into a form, where you're using it to pay and buy things or whatever, or it's worth something. And if you hold on to it over time, it go up in value. That's the same thing with cryptocurrency. Mining is only digital now. It's the same thing like, mining, gold. The mining is done with computers. So,
can you go a little bit more with the mining and the computers so the audience understand?
Okay, so what mining involves is the computers have to figure out an equation, an algorithm, and so it takes a lot of computing power to do this. And so a lot of different miners or different computers, which have been set up by people, a lot of different miners are trying to figure out this algorithm for what's called a block, which is, you're gonna hear a lot of words, blockchain. But anyway, so when the miners figure out the algorithm, then a block is created, and whoever creates the block first gets awarded a certain amount of free money or currency, cryptocurrency. And so eventually, over time, that cryptocurrency, because of people's use of it and supply and demand, it goes up in value, or it could fade out and die because nobody uses it, nobody finds any use for it, and so it dies. So right now, there's a big kind of work going on with Bitcoin and a lot of other altcoins or alternative coins like Ethereum, Dogecoin. Those are some of the ones that people might have heard of. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dogecoin. There's a lot, Cardano. But these coins are fighting for they're fighting for you to use them, to pay for things, to do transactions. And the more we use them, the more their value goes up. It's like supply and demand of anything else. You got a certain amount of grain for sale. When people are buying a lot of the grain, then the price goes up because the supply is going down. When you have very little things and a lot of people want it, price goes up. So it's the same thing with Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. They're a nice investment right now, but it's pretty risky because it's new. It's less than 20 years old, less than about 15 years old or so.
Right.
And people just don't understand it. They don't know what it's going to do. And so right now it's a risk. It went from, in the last 2 years, a price of below $5,000 to almost $65,000. And so now it's back down in the $30,000 price range. And so you can see there's a lot of volatility, a lot of up and down in the pricing, and people just don't know what it's worth.
Right.
Because they knew what it worth, but the price changed so drastically, they don't know right now. So when the price gets high enough, somebody who's had it since it was 30,000, when it gets to 60, they say, "Oh, I don't think it's going to go any higher," and they sell because they don't understand. But I believe, and many of us who've been studying it, we believe the price is going to be eventually $1 million, maybe even $10 million in the next 10 to 15 years.
And
So that's why
in order to be effective on that, you have to, when you're talking about investing versus trading, explain them, audience, what you do, let's say on a not a daily basis, but while you're, as a day trader, you have to be in tune. You gotta know how to read like lines. You got to know, just explain that, what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, so what I've been doing is, like, I think cryptocurrencies can really help communities, can help families build wealth, especially right now. But in the long run, people can build infrastructures like, let's talk about, the trillions of dollars that the Black community spends every year. Let's say someone create a way that made them easy to spend that inside their own community, spend their dollars, and they could track it, because they actually are spending the actual, coin that was created for that purpose. This is a way that you can leverage your own wealth to help build your own community up. Other communities are doing it. That's just one way. There's so many uses for the technology that cryptocurrency is based on, which is the blockchain technology. You can use it for many things and a lot of different fields, not just as, for basically what the currency does and the blockchain does is it logs transaction. It keeps a record of transaction that's public, so with, records of different things, being public, then, it's just, you have to use your imagination to figure out what that can be used for. And a lot of people have found a lot of innovative ways to use it. So
Awesome.
I don't know if that's,
no, you answered my question. Where do you see Bernard in 5 to 10 years?
Well, my 10-year goal, which I don't think I ever really would retire, which a lot of people, might not be able to see it, because less than 3 or 4 years ago, like I was almost homeless. I was staying in hotels for a couple of days until, one of our good friends, Q, actually, our college buddy, and then Q was still friends. To this day, I was at his wedding, he was at mine, and in fact, I just saw him recently. But he let me live with him for a few days. For about a month or whatever, until I got to put my own place back on my feet again. Those ups and downs we was talking about. But that was just a few years ago. But in 10 years, I see myself, really retiring from the businesses that I've created, because we got a lot of stuff coming. And I've always been a guy, like I said, I see something and I sit back and I study. Like, I've been aware of Bitcoin for a while, and this is I would say my second 4-year cycle that I'm actually being a part of. The first one I caught in at the tail end, wasn't aware, and I lost. This one, I made some money early on, wasn't aware, and I sold early. I had a great position and I sold early. So it's still super early for me to just get my knowledge up and prepare for next time. So I'm just building my wealth so I can prepare for next time. In 10 years, I have several businesses in the health and wellness field, inside of so health and wellness, that would be like the alternative eating field and personal fitness. I'm working on some things. I'm actually working on a cryptocurrency. You might have been able to kind of allude to that from the conversation. I really don't want to give too much away, but I challenge somebody else to take the idea and do it before me. I'm not going to be upset because, at the end of the day, it's going to benefit the community. And in 10 years, that's exactly where I'll be. I'll be in the midst of whatever community where I'm living, or several communities. Being one of the elders, teaching, farming, how to take care of, different things, building things. I'm trying to, men to do mean stuff, build stuff. So
Sure.
10 years now, I want to say, that I'll be retired from business per se, but I don't think I ever quit working.
For sure.
He made a name for himself as a star for the College of Charleston basketball teams in the mid to late 90s. And now, Jermel president is doing what he can to make sure that the Charleston area kids have a chance to succeed on the court and in life.
So I want to, give some of that back to the community as well. After college and after playing professionally, I started the Day Foundation just to be that wealth of knowledge to the kids in the community and parents as well.
College of Charleston Hall of Famer Jermel president said he saw a need for this while he was in school. So he founded the nonprofit Day Foundation. And its philosophy for success is based on what he calls his oatmeal recipe.
Let's go and finish together.
Basically teaches the game of basketball, focusing on skills development, nutrition, and education. Not only SAT, ACT type stuff, but education for parents in how to navigate through the different levels of athletics.
In closing, man, we created something called the oatmeal recipe, which is skill development, education, and nutrition. And, no matter, what career you in, what sport you in, those three ingredients, got to be applied. So I want to shoot, the first one at you and talk about skill development. And I want to hear, how important is skill development to you, and how do you apply it to your everyday life?
Skill development definitely is, it's the number one, it's the most important thing. I mean, it's hard to say the most important, but it's definitely, if you had to pick the top, most important things, it's definitely up there. Like initially growing up, I was clumsy. I had big feet, big legs. The kids used to make fun of me because my legs kind of just went straight down. I still had big legs, but it took a moment for me to grow into my body and like develop athletically. So in that meantime, like I didn't start. I really didn't get any player time in the 7th grade when I was on the freshman team. And so I hadn't physically grown into it actually in the 8th grade, even though I was the MVP. But it was because, man, if my coach said you plant this leg here and then you drop and you spin and pivot, I did it exactly the same way he did. And whenever I would be in practice and I would see my teammates not do it, like I would get annoyed because it's like he said do it exactly like this, and the coach, he wouldn't correct them a lot of times,
right,
but he would correct me,
right,
because talking to him years later, he was like, he saw that there was potential in me, so it's like I'm not gonna waste my time on them that I don't see
invest in that.
But because he did that to me, it made me always, cross my eyes, they dot my I's and cross my T's in regard to, what the coach said in regard to technique and that sort of thing. So skill can get you very far, even if your physical ability or talent, isn't up to par at the time, or has been. And look at Jordan, coming back as an old man, or a lot of times when the older guys come back, they still able to do what they do just because they know how to get you out of the way with that elbow, or do a little trick to the trade, based on skill alone.
For sure.
Skill is highly important.
My next one, education. What I'm saying, just to know your craft from a book standpoint. You know what I mean? And we talk about education when in books, when it comes to sports, but there's some off-court education that you need to inquire as well. What's your take on education? How do you apply it?
I guess I'll take it to another level. you definitely need to do what's required and excel at what's necessary in the field that you're gonna be in, that you decide to endeavor in, whether it be sports or whether it be your professional career, in the business. You're definitely gonna need to do your best and excel in that. But you're also gonna need to find out the things that are interested, that you're interested in, and educate yourself on those things, and so that way, you don't just round yourself out by taking the humanities courses in college and thinking it's it. Now, what else are you interested in? And don't just like say, oh, I think I like that, but you don't know. Take something apart. Go read a book about something. Definitely, self-educate. And the reason why is like my favorite motto now. It's necessary for your success. It's necessary for your success. Your pain, your injuries, all your troubles, all your ups and downs is necessary for yourself, your success. And self education definitely is necessary for your success.
And last one is nutrition. And I know you're a good cook. I love to cook too. But talking about not only the food for thought, but I see athletes all the time putting a lot of bad things in their body, pre-game, post-game, during the game. What's your take on nutrition and how important it is to you?
I mean, for me, it's definitely it's always been a very important thing, but I think it was more so just because of my first of all, like the way my mother cooked and brought me everything that she cooked and put on my plate or whatever. But then just me kind of being finicky about some of the things I eat as well. Like I just didn't eat a whole lot of things growing up, so it kind of translated well for me years later. Deciding to be a vegetarian first, trying that out, and then eventually being what I call a would-be vegan, and that's just simply because I will consume honey produced by bees, so vegans don't consume any animal byproducts. But other than that, I would call myself a vegan, but I don't consume. I will consume honey, so now I'm a would-be vegan. So my wife coined, call ourselves. But I wish I had learned this when I was an athlete. I think my knee injuries would have been less severe as far as I was always having the ice before practice, after practice, sometimes during practice. Having that big boot, the air pressure boot on my leg, walking around with a swollen leg, not just my knee, my leg was swollen pretty much the whole time. That's just how much I wanted to play and how much I love. A lot of people just thought I couldn't do it because, oh man, you had, 7 surgeries. I would have quit after the first. A lot of people say that, but I've had 3 ACL surgeries, and the rest of them were just, scope. Surgery. But if my health, if I ate the way I did then, if I ate the way I do now then there wouldn't have been as much fluid inside the knee, the swelling, the pressure, the mucus, that sort of thing. The recovery would have been a lot faster. I think I would have been a much more of a beast of an athlete, to be honest. So yeah, do your self-education, do your research on how important nutrition is. I'm not saying for people to necessarily go vegan and quit eating meat. Just do your research on putting premium things in your body. Things you can do include making sure the seasonings that you use. That's one of the big things. Don't have the chemical additive, the anti-caking agent. That stuff. Making sure you drink water that doesn't have additives in it. Definitely. I don't drink the water out of the tap unless I absolutely have to. Other than that, I try to drink a high quality spring water, which I like to travel up to Healing Springs, which I actually just did that for the first time. But man, that's gonna be my go-to as far as for fresh spring water, Blackwood. But yeah, nutrition is definitely something that I think if you focus on nutrition, my brother, I finally got him after years of being a professional athlete. He went vegan at, I think, age 32 or 33. And those were like some of the most painless years of his career. He was getting a new injury every year until he changed his diet. But it's not necessarily about, like I said, going vegan. It's just about including healthier choices, eating more fresh things, and eat more foods that don't have a lot of the chemical additives or preservatives and things like that. So just trying to eat fresher. That's all.
And in closing, man, what's your message to an athlete?
Froze up. I don't know if you can hear me, but
Yeah, so
froze up. I didn't hear anything.
I said, what's your message to an athlete that kind of mirrors your situation? You know what I mean? That has some turbulence in life, got into a couple of run-ins, and still trying to make it, because you got to realize 7 surgeries, turbulence, like that's just heart and determination, bro. You built different. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't have that percentage in them to make them go like that. You know what I mean? So, people might stop after the second surgery. What kind of what message you got for people that's listening to this, that listen right now, that got jammed up last week? You know what I mean? That need to hear something. What's your message? What is your message to them?
I mean, like, I really want people to, like, know that I really, what I experienced in regard to my choices and what the system gave me in return, they were because of me. I did that. There's nobody to blame. And it's like, yeah, going through struggle, there are ways that you can look at it, every situation, if you make it out alive, to have a positive outlook on it, but it's not necessary that we fall and bump our heads every time. We can listen to our parents sometimes. We can listen to loved ones, warning us sometimes. So just because I'm saying you can be empowered by your mistakes, I'm not saying go out there and just make mistakes galore. See what I'm saying? Sometimes you can gain wisdom just by listening and doing what the wise do. So even though the struggle and the pain is necessary for our success, at the end of the day, be wise.
For sure.
Be wise and learn from somebody else's mistakes if you can.
For sure.
If you can. So, that's what I have to say. At the end of the day, it's not over. If you still living and you still breathing and your mind still works, you're in control.
For sure.
You're in control. Now all you have to do is change your time preference, because we want things to happen immediately. If I would have sat back and just studied Bitcoin in 2017 instead of rushing in the market, losing my money, if I just sat back and studied it when it came back around, because the price went all the way up to $20,000 from $2,300 when I saw it initially, all the way up to $20,000, and came back down to $3,000 or $3,200. So if I had studied and saved my money for those 4 years, so we just got to change our time preference. That's all, And so don't look at something as a failure if you haven't given it time, if you haven't put in the time, So just change our time preference. Always have a positive outlook. Nothing is negative to me anymore, man. If I stubbed my toe, I always say it was necessary for my success. So, hey, I was able to. I'm tough enough to make it through it. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Whatever happens, anything negative, you can say, you know what, it was necessary for my success. And don't just say it. Find how it made you stronger. Find how it made you better. Think of a way to look at it, and it just empower you, man. Your life can only empower you, man. Nothing.
For sure. All right, man. That was, a good interview, and I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I'm pretty sure the audience and everybody listening gonna, your family are gonna hear that part that they haven't heard before. So I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for being part of the podcast, big guy.
Well, hey, man, I know you're doing big things. You've always had your hand in the mix of some stuff, man, and I'm glad I'm still on your radar, brother. That's all, and I'm glad you had me on, and any way I can help you, bring any light to any young people that you're involved with. I know you're doing a lot of things in the community still. I'm here, man, and you'll definitely, see me doing some things, here soon.
For sure. All right, man. Have a good day, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Same to you, brother. Peace and bliss.
For sure. Peace. So there it goes, guys. Another one in the books. I want to thank King for coming on and talking about his life as a student athlete, his trials and tribulations, and then how to create major avenues out of those situations. So we thank you for that. Coming up next, we got Coach Jim Yarborough that coached me at the college. Learned a lot from Coach just on the preparation of the game. We had extensive conversation on the preparation of the athlete, the new athlete that's coming today. So a lot to talk about. All right, we'll be right back.
What Jermel is doing with the Day Foundation and the approach he's taking to help develop young athletes, first of all, getting them prepared from the academic standpoint, which, as you know as well as I do, Bobby, that's the most important element, to try to get them to eat healthy, to be able to train properly, to get the proper education, and then hopefully for those who are talented enough to have a chance to move on to perhaps even get a free education by going off to college. But I love what Jermel is doing. It's a wonderful program. Hopefully more people in the community will get behind it, and some of the businesses involved as well, to help sponsor this program, because these are the kind of things that every community needs, looking out for the best interest of the youth. The future of this country is in our youth, and everything that we can do to help prepare them better for that is absolutely wonderful. And I can't express adequately enough my admiration and respect for what Jermel is doing, and hopefully he'll get a lot of help from a lot of people.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President, and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast, as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month.
York City.